Hi all, we're going to read our next chapter of Freak the Mighty. This is chapter 19, Into the Black Down Under. We have to leave the old lady's place because you never know. The cops might come knocking on each door. They're like bugs, my father says. They're not too smart, but there's a lot of them. They keep at it. On the other side of the alley is the boarded up building. It used to be part of the Testaments until a fire burned it out. My father decides we'll hide there until Iggy gets a car for us. He reaches out and pulls off a big piece of plywood with one hand. The screeching noise the nails make sounds like a cat fight. And the next thing, there's a real cat, a black one, that leaps out from behind the plywood. My father jumps so hard he yanks me to the ground and I bump my head. Dumb animal, he says. Get up now, that's just a scratch. A little blood never hurt a man. It doesn't hurt. And anyhow, I sort of like the taste of salt in my mouth. It makes me feel awake. Get in there, he says, and then he's pulling me through this old burned out window and we're inside the building. Everything is black and wet and dripping except for where the snow has come down through the holes in the roof. Most of the inside walls are gone. You can see where the center beam was chewed by the fire. All the old pipes and wires are hanging down. Everywhere underfoot is broken glass and color of smoke. I used to wonder exactly what hell looked like, he said. Now I know. He finds a place where the stairs go down into the basement. He pulls away the boards and planks. You should feel right at home, he says, cooped up like you were in the cellar hole. It's so dark he has to use a cigarette lighter, and the flame is so puny you can't see to the bottom of the stairs. You go first, he says. You can't have both of us use the same step. It might break. The steps are made of thick wood, but slick and punky soft where the water has been dripping all these years, and I can feel how it sags under my feet. There's a rail that's hard to grab with my hands tied, and the way he's holding up the lighter, you might as well keep your eyes closed because it's that dark. You can't see a thing. I slip and start to fall, and then he's pulling me back on the rope, and I'm hanging there in the middle of the air with my feet skittering, and he's going, easy does it, boy. We'll take this one step at a time. Finally, we get to the bottom. There's a little slant of light coming through the narrow cellar window, enough so you can feel our way around all the burned junk that has fallen through the floor. The accommodations could be better, he says. I'll grant you that. Soon as Iggy fixes things, we'll be on our way. He ties my feet back up and loops the rope tight around this old busted-up boiler that tipped over so I can't move or see what's behind me. Understand, you can't be trusted quite yet, he says. Once we get on the road, things will be different. You'll get smarter every mile we put between you and this place. He rips a piece of my shirt and ties it on my mouth so I can't be shouting, he says, and wake up the neighborhood. He rubs his hand through my hair, real gentle. I'm pretty sure there's this sweet smile on his face, although it's too dim you can't be sure. You just sit here tight a minute, he says. I have to go see a man about a car. Then he's gliding away, and I'm holding myself still in case this is a trick, and he's really sneaking up behind me to see if I can get my hands loose, which I can't. They're numb and bloated from the rope cutting into my wrists, and I stop trying and just sit there, letting my eyes open up in the dark. I can barely make out the narrow window, hardly big enough so a cat could slip through, and under it is a big pile of coal slagged up against the foundation wall. Overhead, there's creaking with the weight of him moving around, trying to be light on his feet. I'm listening to him up there and trying to see out through the little window when something moves against the light. I'm pretty sure there's a scratching sound coming from the window, except you can't always believe what you hear in the dark. Then whatever it is goes away, and I'm thinking it was probably a cat. Or maybe a dog sniffing around. Finally, I just keep still because the more I move, the tighter the rope gets. Next thing, I hear someone on the steps. These light feet trying to be real quiet. And then a flashlight comes on and a woman's voice says, You okay there, kid? It's Loretta Lee. I can't say anything because of the gag. All I can do is sort of kick around a little bit to let her know where I am. You could tell by her shaky, thin voice that she's scared of the dark. Kid, tell me that's you. Oh, Lord Jesus, what am I doing here? Then the beam of the light is hitting me straight in the eyes, and she's tripping over stuff trying to get to me. First thing she does is pull the gag off, and I take a deep, deep breath, and makes my lungs burn. It ain't right, she says. Keep your own kid tied up. It ain't right. He ain't the man I thought I remembered, that's for sure. I want to say something, but I'm not sure what, and anyhow my mouth is too dry. She puts the flashlight on the floor, aiming it up so she can try to untie the ropes. This man is a genius for knots, she says. I can feel how hard her hands are shaking, and she's fumbling along. Also, I hear the boards creaking overhead, but you can't be sure. It might just be the wind. And Loretta goes, The plan is, Iggy keeps him busy while I get you loose. So, isn't that a good plan? There's enough cops up there to start a war. We'll be safe enough once you get you out of this place. Her hands are pulling at the rope, nervous and quick, but the knots just keep getting tighter. Finally, she gets the idea to cut the rope on a ragged edge of the boiler. I saw this in a movie once, she whispers. I forgot what movie. She's working the ropes against the sharp edge of the old boiler, and sure enough, it cuts through. Just the one cut won't do it, though. She has to do it twice more before my wrists get loose, and I can't really help that much because my hands are all numb and swollen. Next thing is this piece around your ankle, she says. I sure can't carry you up these here steps. Do you think you can walk if I get you loose? Yes, ma'am, I say, and that makes her giggle. Mom, ain't we get polite all of a sudden, she says. There, that should about do it. My feet come loose, and I try to stand up, and I have to lean to my weight on her. She just goes, hold on a second, sugar. Let me get this flashlight. She bends over for the flashlight, and then she's making this sound like something is caught in her throat. 2 big hands are squeezing her neck. I see how my father's coming huge out of the dark, and he's got his hands around her throat, shoving her back. You ignorant creature, he says. I'll teach you to get your dirty hands on my son. Loretta can't say anything. She's sinking down to her knees and trying to pull her hands away from her neck, but it's useless. She can't stop him. He's squeezing her dead with his bare hands, and no one can stop him. No one. No one. Chapter 20. Even a total goon like me knows you can't stop Killer Kane, but I go ahead and try anyhow. My hands are still numb, and I can hardly walk, so all I can do is sort of fall on top of him and try to shove him loose from her. And I'm going, stop, I see you. I see you killing her, Daddy. Please stop, you're killing her. He just twitches me away. He's made of iron and steel, and he's gritting his teeth and squeezing her neck. You can see the whites of her eyes, and she's not even trying to get away anymore. I try to get between him and her, and I'm going, I saw you kill her. I saw you kill Mom. I never forgot, not ever. I know you did it. I know. It's like I'm trapped underwater or something, so weak and floating. I can't hardly fight him. Can't pry his fingers loose from my mother's neck, from Loretta's neck, because everything's getting mixed up, and he's doing the same thing to Loretta Lee that he did to my mom, choking the life out of her. He's got that same cold killer look because he wants her to die, like he wanted my mom to die, and nothing else matters except what he wants. I'm there in the dark pushing at him. The light catches her eye, and I can see her looking at me. She's so far away, it's like I'm 4 years old again, peeking out from behind the bedroom door and then running to bang my little fists on him while the light fades from her eyes. I can't get him loose of her, so all I can do is keep screaming, I know you killed her. I saw you do it. You killed her, and I never forgot, not ever. Finally, he kind of jerks his hand, and I can feel him looking at me, and then his hands open, and Loretta slips away, and I can hear her breathing like a broken bird in the cellar dark. What? What did you say to me? I saw you do it, I said. I saw you kill my mother. You weren't but 4 years old, he says. And now his big hands are starting to curl around my neck, except he's holding me soft, and I can feel his heart beating and his cool breath in my face that makes me want to fall asleep. You can't possibly recall that event, he says. You think you can, but you can't. I can, I say. I do. That's the poison they put in your mind, boy. They brainwash you into thinking you can remember. He's pulling me closer, holding me soft by the neck, and now I can feel the pulse in my hands. They never talk about it, I say. They don't have to because I can't forget it no matter how hard I try. No, he says. His face is close. I can feel the heat rising off of him. Impossible, you can't. You were wearing your brown corduroy trousers, I say, talking so fast it makes me shake aside. And the black t-shirt with no sleeves? I tried to stop you and I couldn't. You carried me back into my room. You put me to bed and told me I was just dreaming. You locked me in my room. I ran to the window and broke it with my hand and started yelling for someone to come and help my mommy. My father sighs. Lord, I wish you hadn't done that, boy. It cost me years. They caught you, Daddy, and they put you away forever, except you fooled them and they let you go. I have to clean this up, he says, like he's talking to himself alone. I have to clean this up and get out of here. That's when his hands start to tighten and fast around my neck, and I'm starting to fight him, but I'm so small and weak, and he's so big and strong, you can't stop him. No one can stop Killer Kane. He squeezes and squeezes and squeezes. I'm in a faraway place, falling backwards, real slow and dreamy, when I hear a window breaking, and then a small, faraway voice is saying, Put up your hands, villain! And I really am falling, and the air is coming back into my lungs so fast it hurts. I'm lying there all crumpled up sideways, and I could see Freak. He's rolling down through the cellar window into the pile of coal, and he's trying to stand up. I'm warning you, he's saying in that fierce, bold way he has. He's got a squirt gun with one of those big blaster models that holds about like a gallon of water. Killer Kane is looking at me. He's looking at Loretta all crumbled up and moaning, and he's looking at Freak. Then he shakes his head and goes, I know a real gun when I see it, you little monster. He makes a move, reaching out, but Freak scuttles back a little ways. He can't really run, and even if he could, there's no place to go. This your partner in crime? Killer Kane says to me. I guess maybe you are stupid after all. Freak is pointing the squirt gun right in the face, and he says, guess what I got for Christmas, Mr. Kane? Oops, hold on. Sorry. Guess what I got for Christmas, Mr. Kane? Right, because your life depends upon it. Killer Kane doesn't say anything. He just reaches out real slow because he knows that Freak can't get away. This squirt gun, Freak says, and a chemistry set. That's what I got for Christmas. Killer Kane just looks at the squirt gun. He shakes his head like, who's he kidding? Sulfuric acid, Freak says, rising up the gun and sighting along the barrel. Good old reliable H2SO4, an oily, colorless, corrosive liquid used in dyes, paints, explosives, and many chemical experiments. Killer Kane says, you're lying, kid. You can't fool me. And that's when Freak squeezes the trigger and sprays him right in the eye. Then Killer Kane is screaming in this high, scared voice. His hands are scrubbing his eyes like the scream wakes me up because, and the scream wakes me up because the next thing I know, I've got Freak in my arms and I'm running through the dark for the stairs, running as fast as I can on feet I can't even feel. Go, Freak is yelling. He's right behind you. Go. I can't look back, but I can feel him, feel the ice-cold breath of him on the back of my neck, and the hands reaching blind to grab me, then going up the stairs, just flying. The steps are breaking under my feet, and he's howling in rage behind me. His hands are scrabbling at my ankles, and for just a second, he has me. I kick loose, and then we're up on the first floor, bursting out of the cellar hole. I can see daylight coming through the boarded-up plywood, and I cover Freak with my arms and just dive right through that plywood. Wham! The sunlight blinds me, and we're skittling along the clean, cold snow. Hands are grabbing at me, and I'm fighting to get away. Easy, a voice is saying. Take it easy, kid. You're okay. It's Iggy Lee. He's looking down at me with red eyes. You can see where he's been chewing at his beard and sitting there in the snow, squinting up at Iggy and all the cops. And there must be 1,000,000 cops. And Freak is laughing like a maniac and saying, it worked. He fell for it. Soap and vinegar and curry powder. It worked like a charm. I don't understand what he's talking about right then. It's only later I figured out there wasn't any real acid in the squirt gun. It was soap and vinegar and curry powder that made Killer Kane think his eyes were burning up. Killer Kane, who's still rubbing frantically at his eyes and begging for help when they put the handcuffs on him and shove him in the back of a police car. All I've got room to think about is poor Loretta. That's what I'm telling the cops, that she's down there in the cellar. I'm afraid that no one is listening, but they must be, because right away they're bringing her up out of the cellar, and Iggy's running to her and crying out her name. She's still breathing, someone says. Then Graham is shoving through the crowd of cops, and Grim is right behind her, and Gwen is there too, and everybody's making a big sloppy fuss, especially Graham, who's hugging me so tight I can hardly breathe. Then Fair Gwen is hugging Freak, and she's saying, didn't I tell you to stay in the car? Didn't I? Freak, he's looking over his shoulder at me, looking over Graham's shoulder, and he gives me the thumbs up, and as she carries him away. Freak the Mighty, he yells. Freak the Mighty strikes again.